You guys hear that? That faint noise of a garbage truck in the background? Yeah, I forgot my trash again today. Hey, let me just take a second really quick to talk about this t-shirt. I'm not selling t-shirts or anything like that, but it says, "We are better together." It was a gift from my church where I serve on the worship team. They gave it to all the people that serve in ministry there, and it's actually a couple years old, but I thought it was really it just felt like I needed to wear it today, just as a reminder that we truly are better together, not socially distanced. Welcome back, fellow recovers and self-discoverers. So today I'm going to have a special guest for you, and he's going to share his testimony, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's powerful. I've heard it a few different times, a few different ways, and I'm actually hoping that I'll hear it in a new way today. As you can see, I'm doing things the way a lot of people are doing things these days. I've got my office set up for a Zoom call. Even though this guest of mine, he lives only about 5 miles away, we're doing our best to do our part to just keep each other safe, and hopefully in doing so, keeping other people safe. We hope you're doing the same, but we hope this doesn't last forever. Well, it's not going to last forever, and I hope it doesn't last for long. There's a lot of people that are lonely right now, and they need the connection. That brings me to my next point. Can you help those people? If you can go to whatever platform you're either listening to this or watching this here on YouTube, if it's on YouTube here, go down, hit like and subscribe, and even consider sharing this. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox. That's just to name a few of the different apps that you can use to listen to this show. And so if you rate it, review it, subscribe, that also will help other people discover this show, possibly be encouraged throughout the week, in between meetings or in between Bible studies, just to help people along their way of recovery or maybe just self-discovery. And we know self-discovery happens through Christ Jesus. Enough of that. We're going to get right on to the show now. Please welcome my friend, my mentor, my other sponsor, and he's also the ministry leader at the Celebrate Recovery I attend on a weekly basis, Buck Sellards. Hey, well, thanks for joining me today, Buck.
Yes, sir.
So have you gotten outside to enjoy any of this beautiful Texas spring weather?
I have. I don't stay inside as much as you think, because I'm just an outdoor person. So I'm out. I'll go for a drive. I'll go walk around the yard, and so yeah, I'm not inside as much. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you and I talked a few days ago about you coming on as my guest, and I'm really grateful that you have taken me up on that and are even willing to share your testimony. But before we get into your past, can you tell us a little bit about your present? What are you up to these days?
Well, I lead a Celebrate Recovery group out of Northwest Church of Christ, which you are one of my leader guys there. And I get involved in men's ministry as much as I can. I'm involved with a group called Immersion Outfitters, another group, Christ and Coffee, and just wherever I can be to help people along their journey that are struggling, some new believers, some that struggle with addictions and other kinds of problems. And I have the ability to help people with a vast array of problems, because I've had a vast array of problems that I've dealt with over the last, I'm 50 now, so probably the last good 30 plus years. So that's where I'm at now. I have 5 grandchildren, 3 lovely children, 2 girls and a boy, and life's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is where you're at now and where you've come from, and just it's just such a testimony to God's goodness and his grace and his healing power. So
it's a testimony of patience, endurance, and that he is there all the time. And when the picking's right, he's going to snatch you up from where you are if you're willing to submit and surrender, and he'll take you places.
oh yeah. So how about growing up? Let's just start a little bit, I guess, maybe in your childhood, maybe before I was even out of diapers, because I know you're a few years older than me.
I was going to say, let's start back in a long time ago, around 1969.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My older brother's age. So yeah. And, but so you're a Christian now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You're a believer in Jesus Christ. Did you grow up in the church?
Yes.
Okay. Well, tell me about that. What was that like for you growing up in the church?
Well, it was every Sunday night, every Wednesday, every time the church doors were open, we were there. My parents were very heavily involved in the church, and church was our life. God was our life. It was just it's all I've ever known. I've never not known God. I've never not known going to church and stuff like that. But growing up, my idea of God was angry God, because in church, a lot of times people, I don't want to get off that subject, as far as the angry God, it was a fire and brimstone type thing,
So you experienced angry people in the church.
I don't know if it was angry, but it was, if you don't confess your sins right away, as soon as you do it, you're going to have a chance to go to hell if you die before you ask for forgiveness of your last sins. It was a lot of scare tactic.
Right. Okay.
And I was always told the love of Christ, but I didn't really understand it because I was more hearing what God didn't like and what God was condemning and stuff like that. And that kind of made me an angry person towards God because I can't live up to his standards. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't do that because I do this and I do that. So it was I had a angry relationship with God growing up. Tell you the truth.
Did that anger towards God or feeling that anger from God through judgmental attitudes within the church, did you start to feel judgmental towards other people?
I would say, towards the church people, because a lot of times in church, you have to put on a fake facade of everything's great because we're Christians. So we can't have problems, or every family is, the Sunday dress, Sunday suit, picture perfect family of Christians because we're good. And it's not that way at all. It wasn't, because I saw a lot of behind the scene things, and I found out as I grew up, as my father matured in Christ, because my parents started off young with me, and they were going to church and they didn't really have, I guess, mentors. So they were just going by what the preacher man said and this and that. So they grew up in a style of church where they kept passing on. They believed a certain way. So they would go along with stuff until a certain point. When my dad went, we were stationed in Japan, and my dad met a missionary there and totally turned him around about the gospel. And after that, life changed.
How old were you when that happened?
Shoot, I was probably 7.
Okay.
In Japan, it might sound like, I was young, and I was.
Well, but there's a lot of impression before 7.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So, and a lot of this is stories that my dad has told me over the years, but that's when he had started seeing Jesus as how Jesus is.
Right.
So.
Wow. So now, I know a little bit about your testimony, so I want to let you get there as naturally as possible in this interview, but so do you remember a defining moment where you went from, let's say, the 7-year-old boy who always believed? It's funny you said that. I've actually said the very, very same thing, almost verbatim. I don't remember a time that I didn't believe. I grew up in the church as well, but I didn't begin a relationship with Christ where I let him become Lord of my life until about 24 years ago. And so I definitely related to that, though. But I just always have believed. I've always believed that Jesus is the Christ, that he died for my sins. And so you said that, and that, I related to that. But let's go from the 7-year-old. When your dad, things changed for him. At what point or at what age do you think you started to rebel from that faith, or not necessarily rebel, but just kind of want to do your own thing?
Well, I would say when things took a turn for me, as far as anger and everything, I would say about the 5th grade.
Okay. So that'd be what, about 10 years old, 9 or 10?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And I was in 5th grade, and I got held back in the 5th grade. I could pass, but teachers and parents got together and decided it'd be better if I repeated the 5th grade, which I don't understand that to this day. And that's when things went south.
Okay, I gotta pause you because it's getting weird. Okay, not only did you say something verbatim that I say all the time, I was held back in the 2nd grade for the exact same reason. I was doing fine academically, and the teachers just said, because they just didn't think I was maturing the same way, because I was an August baby. And so I did start a little bit younger than the other kids in my grade, but not that much younger. And anyway, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent there, but that's just weird that you said that. And my mom to this day regrets doing that. She says she wished she wouldn't have done that.
Both of my parents were like, "Yeah, that was a big mistake."
So anyways, go on. Go ahead.
But yeah, because we even went to the new school that I was going to be going to see everything. All the friends were all ready. And then I get that news at the end of the year. So everybody I knew left, and I'm stuck there again. So that started giving me the anger and the feeling of maybe a failure and rebellion. And that's when my my rebellions against authority and just anger started right then and there. And so I was older than all the other kids coming in. So I kind of ruled a little. You know what I mean? So
yeah, right.
And it went from there, just continued.
Yeah.
So then let's see. I have some things written down.
Sure.
But and also we moved a lot.
Right. You were a military kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So we moved around a lot. And that started messing around with identity, far as who are you and where are you from? Because everybody asked me, so where are you from? Well, I'd always claimed the last place I lived is where I was from. So I was always from somewhere new.
Right.
And I didn't really have a base, a home base, like a hometown or
a tribe.
I had my family's hometown back where they're from, back in West Virginia. But I didn't grow up there. So I really didn't grow up anywhere. I grew up all the way across the states. And so finding myself is real hard. It was really hard to do because I was only at a place for a year or two, a couple of years. So I could change who I was every time I moved to somewhere different. Every time I moved somewhere new, if who I was at the other place didn't work, because I was a tall, skinny kid named Buck that got picked on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wasn't cool the time before, I could try again at the next year because I was going to move to another school. So I could assume a new identity. I could be the prep this time, or I could try to be a jock, or I would try to find something that worked from what I thought the cool kids were from the last place I was at, I would try to be like those kids. And I just had a heck of a time trying to find who I really was, because I was always trying to pretend to be somebody else, which now I know from recovery that I was a scared kid trying to be tough and trying to make a name and trying to prove to everyone that I'm okay. And you know, if somebody picked on me, I took a couple pickings on, and then, you know, after a while I learned to fight. I learned to, you know, look for the bullies. The first time, as soon as I got to school, I'd look for a bully, and as soon as I'd wait for him, as soon as he was ready to come around, it would, you know, let's do it. But so that's where that trend started. It was,
Yeah.
So
Would you say it was kind of like a chip on the shoulder?
yeah, because after I started getting a little older, I would be like, okay, come on. I've dealt with bullies all the way across the United States. So,
right.
You know, who are you? Just an attitude. And
here's a question. Maybe, I don't know if you've ever been asked this, and it's just the thought popped up into my head. So, the thought popped up when I said chip on the shoulder. Now, a lot of people, we've had to try to explain this to our kids when they've dealt with bullies. We try to explain to them that a lot of the time it's because they're being bullied by somebody else, whether it be their father or a sibling or just maybe somebody else. Have you ever considered that? And I don't know. I mean, do you ever feel like you went from having a chip on your shoulder about the bullies to becoming a bully yourself? Was that a place you ever got to? Okay, that's good.
No, I was very, very against bullying and anybody picking on anybody.
Got it. So you were the defender.
Yes, I started becoming a protector after a while.
Okay.
Like if I saw somebody else getting picked on, I would join in, and that actually started catching on to places I went.
Nice.
That people would group up with me and see somebody, so we'd actually take down bullies and make them leave people alone. So that was kind of a thing I did when I was
vigilante.
Yeah, I started in grade school. But the thing is, because I always had a kind heart, and I always had a real soft heart. I know I got that from my mom's side, and I was always. And the thing that came with authority for me, and my dad is a great man. I love my parents; they're great people. And my dad was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps. So he was very big on standing up for myself and sticking up for myself. He didn't like me to come home actually whining again about another person pushing me down or this and that, because I would do that a lot. And he finally got to me, hey, you have to stick up for yourself. Do not start nothing with nobody. But if somebody is going to try to hurt you, because I thought I would get in trouble if I would defend myself and hit back or something. And then it was clarified that, I could defend myself and take care of myself. So that kind of started where I would start taking care of everybody.
Right.
And so that's where that went. And
so
that continues to this day. I don't get in fights anymore, but
yeah. Well, now in the ministry that you're in, you're still a protector and a defender, and I think you do get in some fights. It's just a different way of fighting, right? Yeah. It's through prayer, intercession, because I know you're heavily involved in, and you have been for the last 5-6 years of ministry, of trying to help others that are being bullied by the enemy through different ways, different vices and addictions and stuff. So with that being said, talking about defending those that are in, being oppressed through addiction and stuff, when did addiction start entering your life?
Wow. I started, for some reason, some say it's hereditary. I believe that. There was no alcohol in our house growing up. No smoking, no drinking. But I always had an eye for it. Every time I would see somebody drinking something like on TV, or would be out somewhere with, at a picnic in the dad's work or whatever, people drinking, uncles, I always had a thirst for it. And I had never tasted it. I said, it was never at the house, but I would see it and I would have a thirst for it. And I wanted it. And the first time I tried it, I think I was probably in 6th grade. Probably I started sneaking a little at people's houses. And then 7th grade, when we lived in Virginia, so I was kind of getting in the junior high area. And so about 7th grade, I'd always go to a buddy's house, and his dad always had booze and a thing. So I always drank it, and I loved the way it felt. I just loved how I felt. I felt free. I felt numb from any kind of troubles. I mean, how much trouble you have in 7th grade, but in 7th grade, you've got a world of trouble, you know? The girl next to you don't like you or whatever, you know, the case may be. And trying to be cool, fit in. And so addiction itself probably kicked in about 15, 16. I started getting heavily addicted. I was addicted. I was doing drugs. I had already started using methamphetamines by 15, 16 years old. And I got my first DWI at 16. I just got my license because where I lived in Yuma, Arizona, you could go across the border. I was only a few 20 minutes, 25 minutes from the border. So we could go over there and drink, you know, as long as you looked over 18. And I always looked old enough, I guess.
They had their own boys town there.
Yeah. So I went over there, and I would drink a lot over there. And I came back one night, and I got through the inspection station, but I guess I spun some tires or whatever leaving, and I got pulled over, then taken back in, and that's where I got my first DWI. And I had just had a strong thirst, and it kept drinking. Then at 17, I was getting in trouble, and by the time I turned 18, I was already going to jail for marijuana possessions, you know, and drinking for my DWI, and little other tickets for disorderly conduct kind of stuff. And so it was getting real heavy. And I was in high school. It started getting just out of control. I always had a bottle in my book bag or something like that, and because alcohol was definitely my drug of choice. And so by the time I was 18, I was already in jail, getting in trouble. I lived I had a room. I lived with a girl at 17, 18 years old. My senior year, I already had my own place and everything. We were engaged, you know. It was like, things got real twisted in my high school years. I was involved in a lot of activity to say, you know, illegal stuff, and I was wise beyond my age, for sure. So I got into a lot of trouble, and just the drinking. I mean, I would get violent.
Was the traveling still happening? Were you still moving every 4 years, 2 to 4 years? Okay.
No, we were done.
Okay, so you were settled in Arizona for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dad was getting ready to retire.
Okay.
So yeah, I was settled in Arizona, but I got in trouble again. And luckily, God, His hand was in it. His hand had been in everything. And I had to leave Arizona. Because of legal trouble, and it was worked out. So I left Arizona and came here. I think I was at 19 when I got here, 20.
Okay.
So
1604 was still just a 2-lane highway around San Antonio.
Yeah. I got here to make a fresh new start.
Yeah.
And didn't work out so well.
When, see, the fresh start, how many times by this point at 19, so from, let's say you said around 6th grade, you started drinking for the first time. So that was what, 14, 15?
Yeah.
So let's say in the span of 4 or 5 years, had there been any times that you said, I have to stop this?
Oh, no.
Okay. You were just on the fast train. You were just okay.
I was sent to AA places ordered by the court. And I tried to quit a couple of times, but I loved it. I
Okay.
really
Yeah.
loved to
You
drink.
just, yeah, you were living it and
It's
loving it.
almost like I
Okay.
couldn't get enough. I would drink
Right.
until, I mean, blackouts. I
Got
just
it.
couldn't get enough of it.
Okay. So back to 19 years old. You had to basically get out of Arizona and make it to Texas.
Hmm.
So, and you said you tried to get a fresh start. What did the fresh start look like for you?
Well, I was going to try to go to school, get a job, start school, but the school thing never happened because no matter where I go, there I am, that saying.
Right.
So, I mean, even getting here, I took a Greyhound bus here. I drank with the fellas in the back.
Mm.
I had my long hair, everything owned in a suitcase and a guitar,
Yeah.
typical,
Yeah.
typical looking scene. And by the time I was in El Paso or whatever, I bought a bottle of tequila for my trip from El Paso to here to San Antonio. So I was intoxicated when I got here. So the fresh start wasn't quite working. So I got a job, started working for HEB, and met a lot of cool people. This is a very party town. So, and the first thing I started doing was just when I first moved here was find a place where I could, since I didn't have a ID, where I could buy alcohol where they wouldn't ID me. So I started finding myself stores where I wouldn't get carded and I could buy my alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just right back into it. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even
Okay.
take a break. So fresh start didn't quite happen.
And this would you call it a pattern? Just kept kind of going for how long?
Till I was 44.
Mm.
So I kept going. I met a lot of people here. Kept drinking. Totaled a couple cars, and of course continued my going to jail. And let's see, this probably about 25. I was really needed to stop. I went on a binge one time. We had some company in town. I had gotten off work. I worked overnight at HEB, and we drank in the morning after work, so I would drink all day. I had gotten drunk. We had guests in town, and I didn't want them to see me that way. I started feeling this pitiful me thing. I'm gonna embarrass my parents. I haven't done anything. I'm a loser. La la. So I bought some drugs and a bunch of alcohol, and I had never been to Corpus yet. So I went to Corpus, trying to find some friends that I knew were up there. And I had been gone. And that thing is, I didn't tell anybody I left. I just left, and I was gone for like a week.
Mm.
And so there was a lot of people looking for me and everything. But I went to Corpus, found my friends. We indulged in drugs, alcohol, and stuff like that. And I had a buddy of mine got in some trouble there in Corpus. I got into some trouble, but I didn't get caught with it. But I got into a couple brutal fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just losing my mind, actually, with all the drinking and the drugs. It was just tearing my mind up, and I was full of rage because I was disappointed. Now I know I was disappointed in myself and everything. So I got back home. I was on probation for a DWI. It was my first one. But they let me go I went to a place in Kerrville called La Hacienda Treatment Center. And I stayed there for 30 days. And I really wanted it to work. As soon as I got back from the trip that I took off, and tried to make amends with my folks and my family.
Yeah.
I had them to get me in there immediately. Not in the next day, not in a week, but I needed to go somewhere or I was going to hurt myself or someone else. So I needed to get treatment, and I needed to be put away somewhere, actually.
Yeah.
And I went and got treatment. I was doing good. I was like, man, this is it. This is what I want.
So your heart was in it. Your heart was in it.
Kind of, yeah. It was. I mean,
the desire
my heart
was there. Yeah, your heart was there.
The desire was there.
Okay.
I got out. HEB had saved my job for me.
Okay.
HEB is a great company to work for.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back, same position, everything. I was an overnight assistant stock control, and gave me my same position back and everything. I was just like, nothing changed. but I didn't change my playground. I didn't change the people I hung out with. I thought I could just drink a Duels beer, the near beer stuff.
Right.
I could still go to the bars with the guys, but just not drink.
Right.
And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I was back on it immediately.
Yeah.
And life continued to, I mean, I was a functional alcoholic.
Well, yeah, you have to be able to do it for 25 years straight. You have to be functioning, or else you're homeless or starving to death somewhere. So,
So I continued with that.
Yeah.
And then I got in trouble again, and I got another DWI while on probation for my first DWI. So, and I couldn't do the probations and everything. And I said it still started getting with my mind. I was doing a lot of drugs.
At what age was this?
I'd probably say 23 area.
Okay.
23 to 25.
Yeah.
In that time span.
Yeah.
I was getting a little out of control.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry. What age were you at when you went to the rehab?
Probably 22.
Okay.
22, 23. This is all real close together.
Yeah. So you okay. Go ahead then. So 23, 25, though, it just got bad. It got worse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I continued doing what I was doing. And said I got in trouble, got another DWI. Then I was looking at more probation, like another 10 years, more money. And I wasn't even making probation on the first time around. I couldn't get downtown. I wasn't paying the money. And I just finally asked my lawyer how much time would I have to do. And he told me about like 9 months or something like that. So I actually needed a break from the world. So I said I would take the time just to get away, clean up, and get away from people. And
that was your expectation, but what did 9 months look like? What was that?
Well, I got out early because of trustee work and everything.
Okay.
And when I got out, again, HEB took me right back to the same position I was and let me right back to work. And it just kept happening. I just couldn't quit. The physical addiction was getting stronger.
Right.
So it just kept going and kept going.
So basically, it went from 15 years old discovering, actually before 15 year olds desiring, at 15 discovering, and then fast tracking it for 8 to 10 years of that is what you wanted. Until about, like you said, around 23, your heart was actually into the idea of being free from this.
I think a lot of it,
and then
too, was I was numbing pain. I said I mentioned I lived with a girl in Arizona I was engaged to, and having to leave Arizona. She ended up coming out here.
Right.
And then she went back home.
Yeah.
Because I was still, into my drinking and everything. Right. So, and I think the loss of that was like a first love type thing, really messed with my head.
Sure.
I hate to admit that to everything, but
no,
I think it really messed with my head and got me into an emotional place that I just couldn't get out of.
Sure.
And I was stuck. I was stuck in a rut. I even made a song of that one time.
Well, I tell you what, and there's a lot of truth to that. And this is a quick side note. I'll try to make this quick. We've encouraged our kids to not date in school. Now we've done our best to not be legalistic about it. But some people out there and somebody listening to me, I guarantee you, probably disagrees, and they think, well, it's the best place to practice relationships is when you're young and you're living at home and you have, but every time you give your heart to somebody, especially if it becomes, intimate, physically intimate, the damage is long lasting, and so for some people it just never goes away. So we're trying to let our kids grow up and just getting this confidence in themselves and who they are, who their identity is, and who their identity is in Christ Jesus, so that when they do decide to start dating, they're not placing their confidence in the person that they're giving their heart to, because they've already given their heart to Jesus.
Yeah.
And he is really the keeper of their heart. But pain still happens when breakups happen and dating starts happening. It's still painful, but yeah, if it happens at a young age, that can be really
because a lot of this indulgence, was covering up a lot of pain I was in.
Sure.
And a lot of it too was once I did indulge, I felt stronger, more confident. My insecure person wasn't there anymore. I was Mr. Really Bad, but so, and always proving myself tough. I always had to prove myself tough, growing up that way. I'm not, dad didn't like a little whiner, big boys don't cry.
Right.
And this and that. So being a tough guy was very important.
Right.
And I'm not saying my dad was, bullied me or anything like that.
No.
It was just
he's a Marine. He's a Marine, and it's not something that he should apologize for either, being a Marine. But it is. It's just he's a Marine.
And I will say that I'm glad he raised me the way he did, especially because the way the world was.
Yeah.
The choices I made, I had to be in a certain place.
Yeah. But, so we've kind of talked through up to about 25 years old right now. There's still a 19-year gap in there. What did the next 19 years look like? Or was it just kind of a repetitive pattern?
It was the same, more wrecked cars and...
Okay. Were there any more times in that next 19 years where you gave your heart to the idea of quitting, or had the disappointment of not being able to quit?
No, I tried to quit many throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
I would go down to the AA clubs here in town, but I would get a beer on my way.
Yeah.
I would drink before I'd go. Then after my AA classes I went to voluntarily, I would stop and get some beer on the way home, stop off at the bar. I don't know. I was looking for a magical fix, for somebody to be able to say a magic word that would something. I was waiting for a magic wand to no longer drink,
because that's what alcohol is, or that's what meth is, or that's what cocaine is, or pills. It's a quick fix.
I strived many times to stop drinking for like a week or so, and then try again to do it right.
Yeah. This
time I'm going to drink proper, but it just never happened. So probably, I don't know, 30. Yeah, I got married at 30. There you go. I met my ex-wife, and she had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and they were very young when I got into that relationship. Fell in love with the kids, and we became a family. But I was not ready for it, because I couldn't even take care of myself. I don't know what the kids were there. I said I fell in love with the kids, and got married. I had my youngest daughter with her,
right?
And but the addiction in the household just destroyed things. Trying to raise a family, trying to work. I mean, we had great times, good times, but there was a lot of bad times, and just the addiction destroyed everything. The kids living scared. That still haunts me to this day. As you know, I speak of it a lot in our group about what the kids had to go through, and I get down on myself a lot for that still today. Yeah. But it's not as bad as I used to, and so I ended up divorcing once the kids were grown up and out of the house. And that was probably about 2010 or 11. My youngest was living at my folks, and my 2 older ones were old enough. They moved out with their boyfriend and girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're like 20, 19 in that area. So they were old enough to go out on their own.
Yeah.
So I was left at home with my own devices and by myself. And that wasn't good. I thought it was going to be fantastic and great. And
so is that possibly where it went from, and the whole functioning alcoholic thing is, of course, an illusion.
yeah.
It's just the best words we can use to describe what we think
I was
we're
still
doing.
capable.
Right.
I was still capable of living, sort of.
Would you say at this point, when the kids had kind of moved on and were out of the house, would you say this is maybe where you were no longer functioning in your addiction?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even a little bit before that.
Okay.
I mean, it was just bad. I mean, it had gotten way out of control.
Right.
The house was a nightmare living there, and
Mm-hmm.
for everyone,
sure,
for all of us. And so yeah, they left, and I was there, and I just had no one to answer to, no one to tell me what to do, or gripe at me or
right,
anything. And I mean, I won't say that they griped at me, because everything they said and was true and stuff like that. But of course, when you're in your addiction,
sure,
you don't want to hear truth. You don't
Right.
want to hear you're this and you're that. But I knew I was.
yeah,
I knew I had became everything that I despised in a person my whole life. I always see somebody on TV, and I'm like, man, those are horrible people. If I ever met somebody like that, and this and that, and I had became that person.
right.
And I did not like myself at all. And I tried a few times to quit drinking again. I got a job with a friend of ours from the church. His name was Daryl Martin. And I was doing some handiwork with him. And I tried one morning, because I even started drinking in the mornings. I mean, I would get up in the morning, have my drink so I could stop shaking.
Right.
And get my head clear, not to catch a buzz or anything, just to get myself down to a level where I was normal,
right,
like a normal person. And I tried one time, I wasn't going to drink that morning out of respect for him. He's a member of our church, good friend of the family's, gave me a job when I needed one.
Right.
We stopped for taco one morning, and I shook so bad I couldn't even get it up to my mouth. I had blamed it on my sugar level, my diabetes, or I wasn't diabetic at the time.
Right.
But I blamed it on sugar or whatever it was, and I couldn't even get it up to my mouth. It was just real hard to eat. And I had to stop and get a drink and stop and get a beer just to stop that. And I just progressed. It got worse. I was living very reckless, letting anybody come to the house, and started doing drugs again. I had stopped doing the drugs. I was just straight drinking. I started doing drugs again, and I just didn't like it anymore. I didn't like the drug part, but I still drank a lot. And I had a good buddy that would drink with me. We always have of us heavy drinkers, we always have that one buddy that will go down with you.
Yeah.
So I said, I used to pray a lot that God would take it from me. And I prayed and prayed and prayed all the time. And I waited, and it didn't leave me. And I just kept drinking. I kept drinking. I got to a time where I started having chest pains. I was already losing a lot of weight. People were telling me, dude, your color's horrible. And I finally started having chest pains one day. This is when my fall came.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My fall came when I was 43. The year that 42, 43, I went to the doctor with chest pains, and I finally got seen. And they came back and told me that it was the veins or whatever, varices in my esophagus were swollen. And that was causing the chest pains because my liver wasn't pumping. And when I got there, the doctor had told me, he was like, man, your liver's the size of a football. And this and that. Is like, you're gonna die if you don't quit drinking. I was like,
Right.
yeah, I've heard that before. You know, everybody tells me that.
Right.
But I had this thing that I'm not gonna die from this.
Hmm.
But then after a while, after he told me how I would die, he told me that the liver would stop pumping the blood and it would start swelling. The veins would start swelling in my esophagus, and they're going to start getting little pinholes and trickle blood into my stomach. Right. So he told me that. Then I was going to get sick, and then I was going to throw up. And when I threw up, the vessels, the varices veins or whatever, were going to burst, and I would bleed to death. Jeez. He goes, because a lot of people don't even make it to the hospital in time. He goes, and that's pretty much how you're going to go. And I was like, wow, that's pretty bad. You know, so my dad dropped me off after we went to the hospital. He dropped me to my house. And as soon as I saw that he was down the road, I got in my van and drove to the liquor store and bought myself a nice big bottle of vodka and washed down my liver pills with a drink. And my neighbor, a lot of people say, you know, drug addicts and this and that aren't good friends and stuff like that. Your drinking buddies aren't your good buddies. But actually mine were, because the people that I used to drink a lot with and party a lot wouldn't drink with me no more. They were like, no, dude, you need to quit. You're going to die. Doctor done told you, you look like horrible. You know, your color, your yellow, your eyes, you need to quit. They wouldn't drink with me anymore. So I drank. Well, one guy would, my faithful drinking buddy.
Yeah.
And we continued on. And I say about a year since I was in the hospital, almost a year to the day, to the month, I would say, that what the doctor had told me happened. It was a New Year's Eve. Me and my buddy had made a New Year's resolution that he and I were going to help each other quit drinking. We were going to stop together. And I had just drank so much. I had bottles, and this was it, man. I was going out with a blast because this was my last time I'm drinking. We're quitting. And I woke up New Year's Day, really sick, and I threw up, a lot of blood and everything, and
just like the doctor had predicted, right?
Just like the doctor said, and it was pretty bad. I was scared, and I had prayed to God right then and there because I just knew. I was like, man, I'm going to die. I felt right then and there, you know what? You are going to go. So I started praying, and I got up, I cleaned up my mess. I was talking to God all day. I continued, believe it or not, I continued to drink that day. I had to finish because I just couldn't quit shaking. I was a mess. I was sick, and I had lost so much weight. And I was telling God, I was like, you know, I know I'm going to take this drink, and it's going to kill me. I know that. I'm seeing it right here in front of me. I'm going to die from this. And I'm not going to stop drinking. I can't. I physically can't. I want to. I hate alcohol. I don't want to drink anymore. Only you can take this from me, God. I was like, only you can do it. And I started getting a little angry. I was like, why is it taking so long? Why won't you somehow stop this? I was getting really upset. I go, this can't be my legacy. I leave my kids and my grandkids. I go, I'm going to be here laying on the floor and puke and blood all over the place. And this is how my kids are going to say, how'd your dad die? Or what happened to grandpa? And I was like, Lord, I can't go out. I go, I give. I give. And I go, this is it. I'm going to drink this, and I'm trusting you because I don't want to die, but I don't want to live. I don't want to live drunk. I don't want to live as an addict. Every time I go somewhere, I'm smelling like booze. Everybody knows, they can see me. I become the biggest failure to my family, to my kids, to everybody. I have become one big failure. I have wrecked my family's cars, spent so much money out of my family's account to bail me out of jails, to repair this, to bail me out. And they always did it. I guess sometimes I never learned my lesson. I don't know. But I was like, I can't go out this way, Lord. I go, I need you to save me. I need you to take this, whatever it is. If you'll take this from me, I'm yours. Just do whatever you want to with me. I don't care about friends. I don't care about nothing. I care about my kids, my mom and dad, and my grandkids. Because I just had my first one, and my second granddaughter that just came into the world, or was getting ready to come into the world. And I finished drinking that day, and I woke up January 2nd. I was real sick. I got up and I threw up again the same way, but it wasn't enormous. It wasn't as bad as it was going to get. And I still don't remember how. I know Jesus drove me home. I got in my van and I drove to my folks' house. And I got there and they were like, "What in the world happened to you?" This and that. And I just collapsed. And luckily we have my mom was a oncology nurse for a long time, so we had a good friend in our church that was she worked for. His name was Dr. Fred Massey. He came and started taking care of me, checking me out. And about the next day or so, I was like, "We got to get this guy he needs to get to the hospital. I've called an ambulance already. He's going into shock and everything because I hadn't drank in a few days." And they said, "We need to get him to the hospital." I was bloating already and I was getting real bad. So they took me to the hospital. They did some endoscopies. They tied up my veins in my esophagus. And then probably sometime in June, I woke up on one morning. I was going to go have breakfast or lunch, whatever, with a friend of mine. I woke up and I wasn't feeling good. I was real kind of nauseous. And I had already quit drinking. It had been about almost 6 months since it was June. I stopped in January. But I wasn't my liver was still jacked up.
Yeah.
And I was diagnosed with stage 4 cirrhosis of the liver.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up and I got sick. I started feeling nauseous. I went into the bathroom. I was living at my folks' house. And I just started throwing up blood everywhere. And we didn't have time for an ambulance or anything.
What was the date?
It was sometime in June.
Okay.
Not too far from my birthday.
Yeah, so this is 6 months later.
And so I hurried up and I threw on my jammies because I knew I was going to be there. So I threw on my jammies and my dad grabbed a bunch of HEB bags and threw me in a truck. I got in a truck and we just took off to a Methodist transplant hospital. And I was filling up HEB bags the whole way there full of blood. I had probably like 3 or 4 bags. Easy. So I got there, they rushed me into the hospital or into the emergency room and they just couldn't get it to stop. Trust me, a lot of praying was going on. But I knew I was going to be all right. Because once I had talked to God, I had already started trying to get my life back in order. And I recommitted myself to Christ. And I just had this peace that I knew I was going to be okay. Everybody else is running frantic. The nurses, emergency people running frantic, talking about, does he have a will? Does he have things in order? Because they didn't think I was going to make it through the night. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be good, guys. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. So I did. I made it through the night. Barely, they say, but I made it. And I just started getting better. Yeah. And I knew that I knew it was God. I had to go in for a risky surgery to remove my gallbladder that my liver had pushed out of the way. And one of our elders, Chuck, was there before I went into surgery. And I hadn't eaten anything, so I was starving. I was hungry, right? And thirsty. But
not even any of the Jello?
No, I had no water. The only thing I could suck on was an ice cube.
Oh boy.
That was it, because not until the bleeding was taken care of. And he's like, well, we're praying for you. You're going to make it through. And I had such a peace. And I told him, I was like, it's going to be good either way. Because if I don't make it through, I know I'll be with God. I know with Jesus. And all this ends. And if I do make it through, I get lunch. So I get to eat.
So you had been living out nearly 6 months, or about 6 months of a peaceful life. Your body was broken.
Mm-hmm.
Your body was broken, but you had been living that last 6 months in answered prayer
Yes.
because God had taken something. I mean, it was your biggest demon. It was your biggest illness. So
And you want my mom?
despite that, despite the fact that your body was broken and you were on death's bed, you, in your mind, you were already healed.
Yes, I was already going to be fine.
Right. So the presumed diagnosis of he's not going to make it through the night there was no problem anymore because the problem that you had already been taken care of.
Yeah, I was already looking forward to seeing my family, my kids, and the grandbabies. And my mom, it was a mother's prayer. You know, they say, and my mom says she had prayed to God that by any means necessary, get this alcohol away from him. By any means necessary.
I'm going to pause right there and say thank you, Mom, because I know you prayed that for me for many, many, many years. And she had many sleepless nights because of me and the silly things I did. So I just had to make sure I gave props to my mom too, and props to Buck's mom. So yeah, the prayer of a mother.
And, I went through that, and they were checking me because you have to be 6 months sober for a liver transplant.
Got it.
They were telling me at the beginning I'm going to go on a transplant list as soon as I get 6 months clean.
Yeah.
No alcohol. And when they had finally moved me to a room at the ICU, they came in and told me that I was no longer in the need to be a liver transplant recipient. That my liver was healing, and I'm healing. And
now, how when you're at stage 4, what's the term again? I'm sorry.
Stage 4 liver cirrhosis.
Cirrhosis. How likely is that to happen? I mean, is that common for you to actually heal from stage 4 cirrhosis?
I don't think it's too common.
Yeah.
Because my doctors are every time I go to the doctor now, they're just like, here he is. Here's this guy. And, you know, they call me the miracle boy because I've given, every time I go in there, I was like, God has given you guys as a team, my liver doctors. And I go, this is all God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to explain it.
Wow. Well, this is turning out to be a phenomenal episode, Buck. It's also turning out to be a long one, which is okay. You know, this is my show. I can stay on for 2 hours if I want. I just don't know if anybody will listen that long. But no, this has been great, and I'm so thankful that you did this. I think we should try to figure out how to do a follow-up sometime, you know, have you on again, and we can talk a little bit about the last 6 years and just how God's still working. He's really active in your life, and I've heard some of those stories.
I'll do a quick plug real quick.
Sure,
for Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
I went there the first time thinking it was like all other recovery groups, that I was looking for a way to get off my addiction. And not until I learned of the underlying issues that I had that I started realizing why I was doing what I was doing, why I became how I became.
Yeah.
And once I could start working on that, you know,
there was a lot more work to be done, and it's taken the last 6 years. And for me, it's taken almost the last 3 years that I've been in Celebrate Recovery. So as he said, it's a quick plug for Celebrate Recovery. You know,
God.
and we'll plug our group if you just happen to be here in San Antonio. But if you're not in San Antonio, if you're somewhere else around the country or around the world even, you can just go to celebraterecovery.com and they'll help you locate one. There's likely one meeting in your town or really close by you. But go ahead and plug our group, Buck.
All right. Yeah, we're at Northwest Church of Christ. I don't have the address right away. I think it's 1604 in Braun.
Right. So, and we meet when?
Wednesday nights at 5:30, 5:45 for dinner.
Not yet. Probably likely after April 30th. Likely after April 30th. right? So
We'll get back to normal.
So that's Wednesdays at 5:30 at Northwest Church of Christ at 1604 in Braun. So, well, thank you so much, man. And I get to see you again in a couple nights because we are doing Zoom meetings, and so I'm excited to be able to do that and see you again and see the other guys. So
yeah, great group of people we can relate with to.
that's right, man. All right. Well, hey, this was great, man. Thank you so much. And you have a blessed day. Get out and enjoy some more of the sunshine. And it's nice and cool today, so it won't be too hot. So,
Yes, sir.
love you, brother. God bless you.
You too, man.
All right, bye.
I got you.